Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's going on, Fantasy Champs? I feel like I jumped the gun there for a second.
I don't know. I think it was pretty good.
Okay, all right, there you go. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always with Pop and Rick.
What's up? What's up?
Welcome to the Thursday show. Because the last show was extra long and the free agent class is so bad that I feel like it was boring, and we need to bring you guys some better content here. So we got a second round mock draft on this show, and it should be a little bit more concise, right, Rick?
Yeah.
Yeah, 12 picks.
Yeah.
We're gonna make 12 picks. Hopefully we remember players. This is where it gets a little bit crazy.
I know. Yeah, it could get very crazy right now.
And we literally forgot about Jamar Chase.
Yep.
Last show. So we'll see what guys remember. I can't remember any other major injuries happening of guys that we were drafting the first two rounds though.
No. I don't remember.
We'll find out. But anyway, before we do that, check out us at fantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platforms, please leave a review. Share this podcast with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, like, and comment down below any questions you may have. So quick recap of the second round, or the first round that we did last Thursday. CMC, Josh Jacobs, Justin Jefferson, top three. We had Eckler, Barkley, Derrick Henry, Cooper Kupp, Nick Chubb, Tyreek Hill, Stefon Diggs, Jonathan Taylor, Jamar Chase. Rick, looking at this list, anything you would change in a week? No, looking back?
No, I don't think. I mean, I probably would maybe move Chase ahead of Jonathan Taylor because we forgot about Chase, and maybe ahead of Diggs too.
Okay.
I think you can make the argument that Chase could be ahead of some of those other guys, but overall, I think we did pretty good.
Yeah. What is this? Jamar Chase is the fifth wide receiver off the board?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. I would take him over Diggs. I might even take him over Hill.
Yeah.
I'm curious where he goes actually in PPR drafts though.
Yeah, me too.
But I thought it wasn't bad. We'll see what happens when the actual when August floats around. See how accurate we actually are.
Chances are it probably won't be very accurate.
But anyway, Rick starts with the 13th selection. And hopefully we don't forget anybody.
Now, should I take the guy that you took originally at 12, if you remember who that is?
I don't remember who that is.
I remember who it is.
Okay.
Should I just take him or should I take someone else?
Research shows the
Oh.
I don't know what that was.
Did you hear it?
I did.
Oh, it was an ad. I was trying to play the NFL draft sound effect that you apparently can't hear when I play it. I don't understand that.
But I can hear the ad.
Yeah. There you go, bud.
Did you do it?
I did.
Okay, well, I'll just take the guy you took last time to make an easy transition. That's Ramondre Stevenson.
Mondre.
At pick 13.
Okay.
He turned on as a PPR machine. I think this is also sort of a projection pick because if we assume the Patriots let Damian Harris walk, then I think this is very realistic. I think if they re-sign Damian Harris and they do some things, then maybe Stevenson, we won't see him going this high.
Yeah.
But he has the potential to go this high for sure.
Yeah, and I talked a little bit about Mondre on the last show before. I was like, frick this. I'm changing my entire strategy. You know what I'm saying? I think, he had such a ridiculous year, and he showed signs, and not just signs. Like, I thought he was really good, but, like, he showed signs of being one of the top 5 or 6 just pure running backs in the NFL. And he was just that ridiculously good in a lot of ways. So, like, I really like Ramondre Stevenson. I think 13, thinking about it now, could be a little bit too high.
Yeah, there's a couple guys that I could think of that I probably couldn't go over Ramondre, but I think for the sake of our
argument
order from last week, I put him at 13.
Okay. All right. Now I'm thinking here.
See, I just took a quick gander, and I already got like 4 or 5 names that I could.
I'm looking. Give me a minute, guys. I should be prepared for this, but I'm not.
He's on the clock. The time is ticking, though.
So the question is, do you go RB? Right.
I would go.
Would you go wide receiver?
I'm not going to tell you where I'd go because I'm probably going to take him with the next pick.
I'm going to take my boy CeeDee Lamb.
Okay. All right, I don't hate it.
This is actually
one of the guys.
We're going very wide receiver heavy.
We are, because there's a couple running backs here that we could go. Might be a little run on running backs.
Yeah, so I like CeeDee Lamb. I think what he did last year with Dallas was really, really good. I think he was the wide receiver. Let me just pull up those stats.
It's wide receiver 6.
Wide receiver 6. And I don't think things are changing there. Like,
right.
they're going to talk about getting a wide receiver, which means they'll probably draft one. But to me, I don't think CeeDee Lamb is going to lose the opportunity that he had. You look in the last game that Dallas played in the playoffs, he had 10 catches, 117 yards, 120 yards, something like that. So, like, I mean, didn't score a touchdown, but he had freaking 21 fantasy points just based on yards and receptions. Like, he has become that guy where they just target him regardless of who's on the field. And I think as he sees more target share with Dallas, and as Dallas looks to him a little bit more in the red zone, I think there could be ascension. I don't know that CeeDee Lamb with Dak Prescott and with the Cowboys could necessarily reach Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, top 3 status.
But you're still getting a bona fide wide receiver 1.
So I could see him slipping to like 2.5, 2.6 in drafts.
Yeah.
And some
but he'll be a second round pick.
Other guys like Debo did not have a good year, but AJ Brown, he wasn't drafted in the first round of our draft, was he?
No, he
was not.
He's available.
Guys like AJ Brown would be in the same vicinity. And so I like CeeDee Lamb here. I would probably take him if I was at this like turn area. If I was trying to get a first wide receiver, but anyway, that's my pick at 2-2.
So with this guy, I don't want to pick him, but I know for a fact that he will, maybe not, top 15, but he for sure will be a top 20 pick. So I'm going to just take him now, get him out of the way. I don't know if you did the sound effect.
I did. I didn't even do it for mine.
Oh, that's okay. But with the 15th pick, I'm going to take Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, number 1 tight end. I honestly think, based on the year he just had,
you're right, though.
We're going to see people take him in the first round again. It's
probably
going to happen.
The funny thing is that the first round people are definitely like, not to cut you off, the first round people are definitely like a little bit out there. But it's enough to push him up into that like 2-3, 2-2, 2-1 conversation.
I mean, where did he go in our draft? Wasn't it? It was early second round, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
So I think he's probably going to be in the same spot. He's just been, he's been great, and then this year he had his best year without Tyreek Hill. So even though the age is there, it's a tight end position. Based on the year he just had. And what's probably going to at least look forward for the foreseeable future, at least just for next year.
Yeah.
I think Kelce will probably be a second round pick. Now, if we're looking at 2024 mock drafts, he ain't in the first 2 rounds. But
is
that
I
think as of today, we have to put
developing take. No, that has been boiling in the pot of water that Rick has had for quite some time.
I know. It's like the Max Kellerman Brady off the cliff. One day it'll work.
It's the same thing with Derrick Henry.
If you get it wrong 10 straight years,
you just keep trucking away at it, and you'll someday hit the mark.
Right.
Wait a second.
Uh-oh.
We forgot somebody on the last one.
Did we?
We did. And I'm going to have to take him with the next pick. It's Dalvin Cook.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He was going to be my next pick, so I didn't really forget about him.
Oh, okay. So you were watching. That means you actively took Travis Kelce over him. So I did. He's falling in our mock draft here. Interesting. Okay. All right, hold on one second. Let me get myself sorted. Yeah, so we got to put Dalvin Cook here. There's a lot of guys, and I think that this particular one, like Dalvin Cook has been very, 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 very disappointing the last 2 years. I drafted him fall from grace. I drafted him first overall, or second overall in the home league 2 years ago, and he just wasn't good. And then last season, or this season, he wasn't particularly great either.
He's still RB10.
He was RB10 on the season, so he was pretty good. Right here, we take him off the board in our PPR mock draft at, what is it, RB10. So he's right in that vicinity.
Yeah.
I could see an argument where, a guy like Dalvin Cook, he probably should be taken ahead of Stevenson.
Should he?
I don't know. Now with the Bill O'Brien news, I don't know. I got to think about that. But with JT, do you think that people will look at Jonathan Taylor and be like, okay, based on last season, and based on the fact the offensive line hasn't looked good, there's no quarterback, we don't know who the coach is, we don't know what the situation's going to be like. Should we be drafting Dalvin Cook at 111 or 110 instead of Jonathan Taylor? I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, Cook he was disappointing last year, and then this year he was pretty much the same player. He was RB14 in points per game this season. There was 13 running backs better. I think he's at the downside of his career. He's still good, but I think he's no longer in that elite running back category. He's in that old man second, third round category. Now he might be the best guy in that category.
Yeah.
But to me, he's just dropped the tier. But I do think it's a good pick. I would have taken him at 16.
I mean, the funny thing is that he's 27. Chubb is 27. Henry's 28, 29.
But those guys are still producing at top 5, top 10, true. Top 7 levels.
Yeah, I think that Minnesota on a year-to-year basis is shifting. They're becoming
pass heavy.
They're becoming a pass heavy football team as opposed to one that is predicated on the run. And
Cook doesn't get 30 touches anymore. They use Madison. He still is a workhorse, and or at least a modern day workhorse, and he gets the majority of the work, but it's not as dominant as a Derrick Henry, or a McCaffrey and Barkley.
I will say I do feel like Dalvin Cook here is definitely a guy that kind of falls he's a guy that you can at the back end of the first round, early beginning of the second round, that you can kind of rely on to be a running back, a low-end running back one for your team, and then still provide on occasional weeks a 25 to 30-point performance. So I think he's decent, but 2.4 is not bad. I definitely feel like we are slightly undervaluing what the community will value him at when drafts start happening. But if I can get Dalvin Cook at 2.4, I feel good about that.
Yeah. So with the 17th pick, I'm going to take another kind of an old man running back, but that's Joe Mixon.
Joey.
Kind of in the same spot as Dalvin Cook. He actually had a better year, though, than Dalvin Cook. 15.9 points per game, which I think was top 10. And then in terms of total points, I think he was RB12, but he missed 2 games. So I think he was top 10 in points per game. He's not a sexy pick. Every year it feels like he's a second-round pick, but he's solid. He's a solid low-end RB1, high-end RB2. And I think he's kind of a safe pick, but one of those just overall solid picks.
Yeah, not a bad pick. Where was he? Did you say where he was finished the season? Running back 12.
He was running back 12, but he missed 2 games. I think in points per game.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Let's see. He was RB9 in points per game.
Okay. So I feel like here
just 5 spots higher than Dalvin.
Team 7 going 0 running back. I'm gonna take Devontae Adams.
Okay.
This is a slide. This is a little bit of a slide, and this is a projection for both of us. Because Devontae Adams still was really good this year. He was wide receiver 3 on the season. Now, there's a bunch of different stuff that's happening. Last show we talked about some guys that could possibly move. Adams, if the Raiders don't get Brady and they lose that sweepstakes and they don't really get any other quarterback, they don't get Rodgers, they don't get Brady, they don't get anybody like that. they're going to have to go QB hunting in the draft or stick with Jarrett Stidham, one of the two. If that's the case, I think they dump Davante Adams. And if that's going to happen, this pick could kind of change based on that. Like if he ends up with, a really, really good quarterback who needs a wide receiver, he could still finish in that top 3. But I think this is it. Like, I'm concerned that people in the fantasy community will be like, all right, we have to draft Davante Adams top 4 again because he's Davante Adams. But like, he's 30 years old. I would rather have, if I was ranking guys, I would rather have JJ. I'd rather have Cooper Kupp's old too, but we'll go with it. I'd rather have Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Stefon Diggs, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb over him. Like,
yeah, it's gonna depend on, I think, his situation. But like, there's a chance he has a rookie quarterback or some crappy veteran that's just not that great, and he's gonna have just kind of like could have just a mediocre year, and he's on the decline and all those things. But he could also get Tom Brady, and then all of a sudden he becomes a first-round pick again, and it's just like moves him up. But I think as of today, that's a good spot. See, now I have some options because there's some guys that I kind of want to go with here, but there is a player that I feel like I should probably take, just to kind of be safe. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? See, because you went wide receiver, I'm gonna go running back. And I will probably go with Aaron Jones. Again, not really a super sexy pick, and I think there's a chance he could fall further because of his age and everything. But again, points per game wise, he had a really good year. 15 points per game, which was more than Dalvin Cook. He was RB8 on the season. So like, he's still, people will look at last year's numbers still and kind of be like, okay, he's still up. He's still a top 10 running back. He's still an RB1. And the thing with Aaron Jones is he's such a good pass catcher that he could be an old man running back and still be good in PPR because of his pass catching, kind of like Leonard Fournette this past year.
Yeah.
I think the biggest concern though is Rodgers probably isn't going to be there, right? So like, where do we rank Aaron Jones as a community? If Rodgers is gone and it's Jordan Love, is that maybe a positive thing in a sense because they might rely more on the running game and Aaron Jones, or is it negative because the offense might, although the offense wasn't that great anyway this past year, so who knows? But Aaron Jones still, despite his age and kind of iffy quarterback situation, can produce RB1 numbers.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take at 2.8 Javonte Williams.
Oh, Javonte, okay.
Yeah, because there's
over Breece Hall.
There's two guys. Yes, over Breece Hall. There's two guys that you could take here. Javonte, Breece Hall. I was also going to say Swift could be in that conversation. You still have Najee. I think people are still going to be on that train. So Najee has to be a consideration.
What about Alvin
Travis
Kamara?
Etienne. Kamara is poop.
Okay.
No, he's good. He's just not. He's old and times are blowing him by, maybe.
But interesting. So why Javonte over Breece? Because that's.
I think Breece is great. I think he's a really good player. I don't think the Jets are going to get a quarterback this year, and I don't think things are going to get better with them. I think that they were playing highly overrated football, and I don't really think they're a good football team, to be honest with you. But he could be good. I do think that there's enough skill positions and there's enough of talent with Denver that with a competent offensive coaching staff, not Nathaniel Hackett, that Denver could make steps to improve. Javonte was good when he was there. There's really no one like Melvin Gordon is still there, but he's old as dirt.
He's not on the team anymore. They cut him.
Holy crap! Thank God. So Javonte is the only guy at this point. So like he's gonna get the pass catching work. He's gonna get the rushing work. He's gonna be the workhorse unless they draft a running back. Like if that's the case, you're getting a potential breakout running back at that vicinity. Now, personally, I would just be a little bit more skeptical of Javonte Williams because of the ACL injury, but I think people will overlook that, and he'll definitely get drafted in the back end of the second round.
Fair. What I was going to say about Breece Hall is they had Zach Wilson this year, and their offense was still kind of mid, but he was still a top 5 running back in terms of points per game. So I don't know if that's Now he did get injured later than Javonte, so I think you could use that as an argument.
Yeah, I think he'll end up in the third round.
And then the Broncos could also turn around. I think that's fair. And I'm not going to take Breece Hall because I don't know what week did he get injured? Was it like week 6? Week 5, week 7?
Something like that.
He played he played 6 or 7. I think he played 7 games. So I think it was week 8. I don't know if he's going to play week 1. When he comes back, I think he's going to be kind of slow.
So that's kind of where, it was week 7 when he got hurt. To me, they say he could be ready for camp, but it's an ACL injury, so it just depends on how fast he rebounds,
Yeah.
So, to me, when I look at Breece, he definitely screams early 3rd round pick to me, and I think he's a good 3rd round pick. But that ACL thing is definitely him and Javonte. It's going to affect them. But I think Javante's more in a slightly better situation than
he also got. I think Javonte was week 3, right? He only played 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, something like
maybe
that.
Maybe it was week 4, something like that. 4. He got injured earlier though, so he has a couple weeks on Breece Hall. So that's fair. I'm gonna take AJ Brown here.
Oh, yeah, that's smart.
I think he's kind of similar to. He's in the same tier to me as the Lamb, the Adams. In terms of points this year, I think he was ahead of CeeDee Lamb, only by a singular fantasy point, though. But, he was the wide receiver 5 on the year. And I don't think the Eagles' situation is really going to change at all next year. So you're getting a legit wide receiver 1 here at the back end of the second round. So I think it's a good spot, especially as the wide receiver. What is that? Wide receiver 7 or 8?
Yeah.
Off the board?
Yep.
I think that's a pretty good pick.
Okay.
At that point.
So this is where things can get a little bit interesting. There's definitely some wide receiver prospects. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys off the board at wide receiver. And there's some other guys that could move up. I think this is where you could consider. This is a guy that we're totally leaving off the board. I'm going to take Amon-Ra.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually. He's probably going to be in the top 5 of my rankings.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, ridiculously good this year. He finished top 6 in fantasy football, I believe. Yeah, top 7. So he should be around the conversation with CeeDee Lamb. I think he gets pushed down the boards because of guys like AJ Brown. And CeeDee Lamb and people's love for them, and I feel like he's always going to be a receiver that kind of gets shoved aside a little bit.
Yeah.
But what he was doing this year on a points per game situation, 17, he's up there with the top guys. So I think he'll definitely have opportunities. It depends on how Jameson gets involved, but I think he should be there. Some other wide receivers that I would have considered here, and I was actually about to take Jalen Waddle. But Waddle, Devonta Smith both had really good seasons, finishing in the top 10. And then you have other guys like Higgins, I would think, would come in next at wide receiver. And then you have DK Metcalf. I'd probably see Christian Kirk somewhere in that vicinity. So, some of those other wide receivers. But Rick, who's your pick at 211?
See, I feel like there's so many running backs though still available that could there's 4 or 5 guys here that I think could still go in that late second round range.
Yeah.
I was gonna take Kamara, but you called him trash, and I feel like I got to get one guy because I took Aaron Jones and Joe Mixon, so I got to get one guy who I think will jump up boards, and that's someone who is healthy, and that's Kenneth Walker. Walker, who kind of emerged last season and was kind of a league winner. He did kind of disappoint at the end, the championship games. I don't think he really did too much, but leading up to that point, he was pretty much a league winner. The first couple of games this season, he was injured. And then when he came in, he was kind of right behind Penny. But the moment Penny got hurt, he took off and was a real RB1. And had a real stretch of games where he was putting up like 25 points a week, and it was just ridiculous. So he's somebody who could even maybe go higher. Maybe he goes a little bit lower. We'll see how the offseason progresses.
Okay, some news from Bleacher Report in the last 20 minutes. Cardinals may trade Hopkins. We already knew that, but the suitors are the Patriots and the Ravens.
Okay.
And then Aaron Rodgers is linked to the Colts.
Yeah, so they're ESPN was asking like executives to make predictions.
Is that what
like
that
just
is?
as a fun game? Two is the Colts for Aaron Rodgers.
Crazy. All right.
The Jets would kill me.
You took it 211.
Kenneth Walker.
Thank you. That's a great pick. And I think if Kenneth Walker is in this vicinity at 211 and I have a high-end draft pick, that's fantastic.
I would take him.
Because you can double up. If you can double up a Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry with Kenneth Walker, that's really good.
Mm.
So there's like Rick said, there's so many different players that you could go with. I'm probably going to go running back here as well. This is so difficult. I feel like you have to go with the corpse of Najee Harris.
Okay. Okay.
Before I go with, some of the guys that I really want to go with, because we, like Rick said, we still have Breece Hall, we have Alvin Kamara, we have DeAndre Swift, we have Lenny, playoff Lenny, probably a free agent, probably leaving. We'll see where he ends up going. So I think that's going to damage his value.
I think it's going to damage it as well.
He's going to be a 4th round pick. Zeke will be a 4th or 5th round pick.
What about Tony Pollard, dude? He was RB7.
I know, but he also just freaking tore his ACL. So
I know. Well, no, he didn't.
He broke his leg. Sorry, he broke his leg.
I saw that his injury is like a 2-month injury, which he should be fine.
Okay,
for next year.
Travis Etienne.
Yeah, Etienne is another one who I think.
So Pollard could swing from the 3rd round all the way to the 5th or 6th round, depending on where his landing spot is. Like if he goes back to Dallas. Yep. Zeke was like, I'm taking a pay cut to come back to Dallas. He just wants to be with his dad. I.e. Dak Prescott. So there's definitely some running backs here that you could go with, but I feel like Najee Harris, he was top 14, even though he was atrocious in like freaking
90% of the season.
And points per game wise, what was it? Yards per carry wise, 3.9. So he or 3.8. So he took a 0.1 yard dip, 200 less yards because they gave him the ball 30, 40 less times. And he also he had 94 targets last year for 74 yards. This year he only had 53 targets for 41 yards. I don't know if that was Mitch Trubisky or what, but he was not getting target share. I know it's week 16. He had 9 targets, 6 catches, but there was only some games where he was getting a lot and then other games where he wasn't. So there's just situations with Najee Harris where I'm a little bit more concerned as a fantasy player, but I still think he should be considered in that top 15 of the running back position.
Sure.
But like I said, you were talking about some of those guys. ETN has to be in this conversation as well.
That's what I'm saying. There's so many, like the first 3 rounds this year, I think are very deep because, Travis Etienne, Alvin Kamara, Tony Pollard potentially, depending on what his situation is, DeAndre Swift. I even think, we'll see what happens in the offseason with his team, but like Dameon Pierce too, who before he got hurt was having a high-end RB2 season. Breece Hall. And I haven't even mentioned the rookies, right? Like if what's his name? Bijan Robinson, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Bijan Robinson.
Yep.
If he goes top 15 in the NFL draft, he's getting drafted in the first 3 rounds. Probably first. He might get drafted in the 2nd round. Because Saquon's rookie year was a top 5 pick, 2nd overall or whatever, and he went, I think 6th overall in our draft, and he was going in the 1st round that year in drafts. So if there's a real
lunacy,
but if he goes top 15 in the real NFL draft, he's gonna be at least round 3. Yeah, at worst case scenario.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of options there, and then you talk about the wide receivers position on who's left in rounds, 3. T. Higgins, I love that guy. You have Deebo Samuel. You have Jalen Waddle. You have Devonta Smith, who had a really great season as well. And so there's just a lot of players that you can take going into the third round. I like the first 3 rounds of drafts. I think you can go with any strategy and really have success. But once you get past that third and fourth round, running backs are gone. They're going to be toast.
Yep.
Miles Sanders too. Top 12 finish.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. You could even look at, where's D-Hop going to go, right? He could be a guy who you could get that third round conversation if he goes in a good spot. Yep. Mike Williams is someone who was like, a fourth round pick this year, and he had a pretty good season outside of the injuries.
Right.
Same with Hollywood Brown. So there's some good wide receivers out there. Maybe like a Chris Olave or a Garrett Wilson could slide up there too. Mm-hmm. Somebody who was kind of a rookie, maybe it takes that year 2 jump. So there's some guys there. I feel like there's a lot of depth overall in those first 3 rounds. And then there's probably going to be a quarterback too in the third round as well, like maybe like a Patrick Mahomes.
Oh yeah, I was actually going to take Mahomes in like 2.9, 2.10 until I forgot.
Yeah.
But anyway, there we go. There you have it. Crazy.
We should go back to this. See how accurate it is.
I know. I do. I like first mock draft we do. I want to see what it says. At least the first one we do in Sleeper. But there you go, mock draft. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We'll see you next week, guys.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.